Welcome back, you guys. Casper here. Now there's one tricky opening that you can play against the queen's pawn game, and if you play this correctly, you will be winning most of your games in less than 15 moves. So your opponent starts with pawn to d4. The move that I recommend is pawn to b5. But hold on, this won't be the normal Polish defense that you guys already know. It will be something else. One benefit of playing pawn to b5 is that at least you are guaranteed white is going to play pawn to e4 on the second move. Check for yourselves in the master's database and also in the leeches database. By the way, you can see pawn to e4 is by far the top played move. So let's see what people play on leeches. After pawn to e4, the main line of the Polish defense is to go bishop b7 in this position, betting white to take your flank pawn so that you can take their important central pawn. But in this position, the move I want you to surprise your opponents with is knight f6. So you attack the e4 pawn with your knight and not with your bishop. Because bishop b7 is just too predictable. This is what everyone is expecting to see. Now there's no point for white to take the b5 pawn at this point, allowing you to recapture on e4 with a knight. That's why you see the top played move in the leeches database is pawn to e5. Once you see this, I recommend that you simply go knight d5. Say, what's the deal? Well, here we are just simply sacrificing the b5 pawn so that next we could go pawn to c5, gambiting the second pawn. And what we did here, ladies and gentlemen, is to transpose the game back to the O'Sullivan Gambit, which most of your opponents won't be familiar with. If d takes c4, you're simply winning a free piece after queen f5 check. The bishop is dead. E.g., if white plays knight c3, the top played move, now you go knight takes c3 and say pawn takes, you simply grab that free bishop. Going back a few moves, after playing queen f5 check, white might also try this other move, pawn to c3, saying take my bishop and I will take your poor knight. Well, this is even worse because after this and queen takes, you simply have bishop b7 and there's nothing that is going to stop you from capturing that poor rook on h1. Besides, you are attacking the queen, and I've seen a lot of people, by the way, playing knight a3. Well, take heart, just play queen a6, still defending your last squad bishop, and say white plays bishop c4. Well, you can just end up oversimplifying the game like this, and next you are going to grab that free piece. So in short, this is the reasoning behind the move knight f6, just to force white to advance pawn to e5 so that we can transpose the game back to the O'Sullivan Gambit. And you know what happens after bishop takes? You simply go pawn to c5, and if pawn takes, you go queen a5 check. If you want to know many lines in the O'Sullivan Gambit, simply watch the video that has popped up in the card above and you will regret. And you will thank me later. Anyway, the other challenging line after pawn to c5 is where black does not take. So they play the move bishop c4. In fact, bishop c4 is the top played move in the leeches database, as you can see with your nose. With your eyes. So most of your opponents are going, what am I doing today? These are consequences of making content before eating. Anyway, after bishop c4, once again, you just ignore the attack on your knight. You capture the d4 pawn. This is the main line in the O'Sullivan Gambit. And after bishop takes knight, which appeared to be free, now you go queen f5 check once again to win back that piece. For example, if bishop d2, you just play queen takes d5. But there is this tricky line that you guys should always be aware of. Knight c3. So in this position, if you just go ahead and grab that bishop, you're going to lose your queen. So the move to play in this position is knight c6, and maybe someday you're going to take the knight on c3 or the pawn on e5, just be on the low. But hey, you can still go pawn takes if you want, but this is a risky line and you need to know one or two things. In this position, white doesn't really need to take on c3. All they have to do is to play pawn to b4 and you're dead. After which you are forced to play queen c7, and then they take your free rook and then you start limping. So to solve this, the best I can recommend is to go knight c6 because you're still attacking the knight. So if white plays bishop takes c6, the top played move, thinking they are getting rid of your knight before, rescuing their knight, well, this is when you can go pawn takes. So what's the difference? Well, this time if white plays pawn to b4, you simply have queen takes e5 check, and maybe on the next move you will end up getting back your pieces with tempo. Even if knight takes happens, you can just play bishop f5 and continue developing normally. You have a bishop pair and you haven't lost any material. After you play knight c6, say white doesn't take, Sometimes you will see them playing moves like bishop f3 in this position. But as long as your knight is on c6, I mean, you are more than free to take, just messing up your opponent's pawn structure. And if this, of course, you can do a number of things that you want. My favorite is to go bishop s6 for some reason, because I know one of these pawns is already dead. The only reason why most black players prefer taking on c3 in this position rather than developing the knight is that many white players don't seem to be aware of one nasty trap that exists in this position. For example, after pawn takes, if white doesn't find pawn to b4, this stockfish move, and let's say they just take your free rook on a8, go c takes b2, discover a check, and after bishop d2 by white, this is when they take on e5 with check. Once again, if knight e2 or queen e2, there's b takes a1, you know, promoting into a queen, and then you end up winning the game. This is the only reason why most black players prefer taking the knight on c3 in this particular position. But because of this move, pawn to b4, you need to be very careful. I remember covering this line in one of my old videos. Nevertheless, if this happens, the best you can do is just to go queen c7, and after white captures your free rook, you don't take on e5 right away, because queen takes e5 doesn't have a great follow-up. The move you can rely on here is pawn to e6, attacking this and also keeping an eye on the e5 pawn. And if white plays the top played move knight f3, intending to castle short, this is when you can delay them with the move bishop s6. This is okay. And you see, even though this is completely losing according to Stockfish, you never know. Most of your opponents will end up blundering, trust me. Now, of course, before I end this video, let me play one game to try out the O'Sullivan Gambit and see how it's going to go. Hopefully, my opponent will play d4 and then I'll play pawn to b5. By the way, even after pawn to e4, you can still begin with the Ali Hines defense, forcing white to play pawn to e5, after which you go knight d5. And should they play pawn to d4, this is when you go pawn to b5, sacrificing your pawn, and after bishop takes, that's when you go pawn to c5, waiting for them to blunder so that you can go queen a5 check and win that bishop. This is the same thing. So let me play one game on Lee Chess against a random chess player. Hope things will go well. Stay tuned. Alright, so we have a game. Hope to see e4. If pawn to d4, I can still take him back to the Ali Hines trap. Anyway, it's knight to f6. If e5, I have knight d5. Now the most played move here is d4. Not c4, but I have b5. That's the gambit, you guys. It's called the O'Sullivan Gambit. Preparing to go pawn to c5 next if bishop takes b5. Okay, so that's a gambit, you guys. Let's see what white is going to do. Okay, bishop takes now c5. The plan is to go queen a5 check and win the light squared bishop, since my knight on d4 is covering the c3 square. So bishop c4 attacking my knight. I guess I still have to take, I still need to take on d4 with my c pawn, right? Yep. So if bishop takes, I'll go queen a5 check and win the light squared bishop. Yep. Now queen a5, Kaspar's signature move. So white has to attend to this check, letting me win his light squared bishop. I mean, he just captured my free knight, except there's no such a thing as a free lunch in this economic nation of eyeballs and antennas and elbows. Okay, pawn to c3, pawn to c3. Okay, let's take the bishop, eyeballing the g2 pawn. Okay, knight to f3. Can I go bishop s6, or maybe bishop b7, or maybe I go queen d4, sorry, queen e4, check. I think I can remember something here. It's been long, you guys. It's normal to forget some of these cheap traps. So I have queen a6, but that will only be played. That will only be played after I play queen e4 check. But queen e4 check again will lead to a line where we exchange queens. I guess that's the only way to Go yep. Queen e4. Check. Okay, so if queen e2, I'll simply take that queen. I don't mind playing without queens in this gambit. Why? Because I'm the one who's playing a gambit, okay? And yeah, queen takes, check. And after king takes, I'll take the c3 pawn. And I have some more open lines. Normally, when we are playing gambits, you guys, we don't want to exchange queens very fast. But in this line, I guess I'm free to do that because I have many open lines. Knight c6 first. I have pawn to e6, bishop c5 coming next. So that queen trade was okay. Besides, we have equal number of pawns. Knight d4 leaves the e5 pawn hanging, I guess. Yep. White shouldn't have played that move. Okay, pawn to b3. I guess I have rook c8 attacking the knight on c3. Yep. Let's see what white is going to do here. Okay, bishop b2. I still have knight to d3. But, I mean, knight to d3 supported by my bishop on s6. Let me go pawn to e6, I think. Yeah, preparing to go bishop c5, pinning the knight to the king. If pawn to f4, I have knight d3 attacking the dark squared bishop. So I'm not worried about that. And I also have f5, f4. Oh, rook ac1. Can I go bishop c5 here? Or knight d3, I think, attacking the rook and the bishop. That's not easy to solve. My knight is well protected by my light squared bishop on s6. What is white going to do here? Let's see. Okay. Oh, knight cb5. Can I take the rook on c1 or the bishop, which is hanging? The problem is if I take the dark squared bishop, white has this in between move, knight c7 check. So let me just take the rook. Yep. If rook takes, I'll take with my other rook. So once again, this is called the O'Sullivan Gambit, you guys. Okay, so bishop takes. I think I have plenty of moves here. Pawn to e5 is one of them. But can I go bishop c5, pinning the knight? I think bishop c5 makes no sense. e5. Bishop c5 will come later. By the way, pawn to e5 instantly wins one of the knights. Why did I even want to play bishop c5? Why am I this bad at chess? Oh, knight takes a7. Did I make something wrong there? Maybe. Oh, okay, so the knight is attacking my rook, but that's the importance of knowing in between moves. I can play e takes d4, okay? The game is right here. So e takes d4 is an in-between move. That will come with a check. So white won't have time to capture my rook first. They have to attend to this check. Yeah, so king takes. Now I can rescue my rook. Because the game has now shifted to the queen side, okay? This square right here. So, oh, wait a second, you guys. I have bishop c5 check, winning the knight on s7. I think white should resign now. Oh, my opponent is a diehard for nothing. Let me just take this knight. And next, I have plenty of moves. I'm planning to go pawn to f6, bishop b7 check, and maybe rook c6 will be checkmate. I don't know. So let's go f6. Yep, f6. If rook e1 check, I can go king d8 or probably go home. King d8 I think is better than going home. If bishop e7 check, I have king c7 and king b7 maybe. Oh, king b8, not king b7. Yeah. If bishop e7 check, I have king c7 and king b8. What is that? Anyways, check. Bishop b7 check. I think that'll be checkmate after king d6 and bishop b8 checkmate, okay? Cause all these highlighted squares in red are covered by my pieces, so bishop b8 will be checkmate. Yeah, he better resign. So my opponent just resigned, you guys, and I'm happy with the result. Oh wait, what? This was a rated match? No, this is not fair, you guys. I normally play casual games just for entertainment purposes, and whenever I'm teaching my students, I did not intend to play a rated match because I don't do these videos for ratings. Anyways, but I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If at all you did, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit that like button if at all you haven't already, and hope to see you soon.